代学习者国际学术研讨会第二场次开始。
Welcome back. International Conference on Teaching and Learning in Higher Education, the New Generation Learners, Session Number 2.
讲题2：大学生应用社会媒体教育之情形。有请主持人陈昭珍教务长、香港大学朱启华教授。
Now let's welcome our host, the Dean of National Taiwan Normal University Academic Affairs, Professor Chen Zhaozhen, and the speaker from University of Hong Kong, Professor Zhu Qihua, to deliver the second speech of the day. Examine university students' use of social media for education. Let's welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad to introduce our second speakers from University of Hong Kong. From University of Hong Kong University. Okay, Dr. Zhu is my old friend. I think he visited Taiwan several times every year. Yeah, and I think the conference was his initiative with our discussion of last year. So thank you. I would like to express our appreciation to Dr. Zhu firstly. And Dr. Zhu is the head of Division of Information and Technology Study and an associate professor at the Faculty of Education. He is also the deputy director, Center for Information Technology Education in the Faculty of Education at the University of Hong Kong. He has published over 115 articles and books, including key journals in the area of information and library science, IT in education, school librarianship, academic librarianship, and knowledge management. As I know, he's a very, very busy people, and it's very amazing. He is also the author of a series of children's storybooks published by Pearson Norman Hong Kong, including My Pet Hamsters and the Chocolate Warrior. Wow. And very congratulations, Dr. Zhu is the recipient of his Faculty Outstanding Researcher Award in 2030. It's very difficult. Yeah. So you can see how busy of a faculty now in the digital age. Okay, let's welcome Dr. Zhu.
Thank you, Professor Chen, for giving me such a warm introduction. Professor Chen mentioned that I like Taiwan and I come here almost every year. It's definitely correct. And also that I enjoy Taiwan so much, especially the mountain and also the traditional tea culture. And so a couple of days ago, I arrived in the morning and then I immediately hike up the mountain from Mount Kong Jieyuan and then all the way to the mountain top. Actually, today you almost can have your lunch earlier because I almost got bitten by 2 dogs. So I don't know whether it's lucky or unlucky to you. But anyway, I really enjoy Taiwan and I enjoy being invited by Professor Chen and also Dr. Chow to this conference. Now, I understand that I have about 40-45 minutes to talk. But anytime, if you have a question or if you have a comment, then feel free to stop me, to raise up your hand. And you can speak to me in English, Putonghua, or Cantonese. That's all I know. Now, I have prepared to speak in English. Yesterday, Professor Chen told me that perhaps I can speak in Putonghua. Now, it's up to you if you can understand, if you can bear with me for my 普通话我可以讲普通话但是如果你们听不明白了那你就举手麻烦你说英文好了That's fine. Okay, I'll see. Yeah, I'll see. So I may switch between the two languages. Okay. So this is what I will cover today. Now, I'd like to know who are university students here, university college students. 大学生OK 也不少啊and who have been using some social medias? What a dumb question, right? Has to be everyone. Yeah, sure. Everyone here, of course. Yeah. Now, although social media have been used by basically almost everyone here, especially by university students, for everyday life. But how often are they also using it for formal learning, and maybe also perhaps informal learning? Will be my investigation, my report today. 那我的研究做了2年那是2种学生这个 BSc Information Management 本科生 undergraduate student 那还有就是这个MSc Library Information Management 那这个BSc student 呢，我就做了2次这个 MSc 学生呢就做了3次那今天的汇报了就差不多所有 data 也有除了这个最后的一次这个 individual input data 那还没做所以有的 data 也算不少Oh, sorry, the other way. Yeah, okay, all right. Okay, so first of all, literature review. A common understanding is that social media tools are open, accessible, user-friendly applications that enable users to create, edit and share ideas, information, and also comment with each other instantly. And in contrast to traditional media and the Web 1.0 technology, social media provides low barrier for users for collaboration and addition of works, editing works, to maintain relationships and to form communities of similar interests at ease. Now, earlier I asked you a question. 刚才我问你 earlier I asked you a question that who are using social media for everyday life for the university students. Now, I also like you to raise up your hand to tell me, as a university student, that you are also using it for formal learning. Formal learning. Okay. Now, so can some university students tell me what you are using it for formal learning for? Some university students that you are using some kind of social media for formal learning. Anyone here?
I'm using Facebook, but because there are some Facebook, for example, the economics, and I will gain the information from it. So I wouldn't just go to the economics website. Instead, when I'm browsing my Facebook website, meanwhile, I can also gain the information from the social network. So that is the way how I learn formal learning in the social media websites.
Thank you. So you use Facebook for formal learning in economics. Okay, very good. Anyone else that use other kinds of social media also for formal learning? University students. Any others? Any more? 还有没有其他大学生用其他的 social media other than Facebook for formal learning？ 还有没有啊？真的没有？应该有的哈。Okay, now so let's see. Now perhaps I should talk about the difference between formal learning and informal learning. Now there are 3 keywords for formal learning. The first one, the last word on the second sentence, certification. And then the second keyword is in the second point, the last word, intentional. Intentional aim for gaining knowledge, skills, competency according to learning outcomes that need to be achieved. And the third keyword, can you guess? In the third point, the third keyword in formal learning, teachers. Yeah, sure. Yeah, you usually should have a teachers, and also in a school or university. Now that's formal learning. Then informal learning, we talk about the process of learning through daily life activities in work, family, or leisure. A review of the literature indicates that social media can be distinguished from other forms of media by 5 characteristics. And they are user-generated content, UGC, and prosumer, producer and consumer, prosumers. And co-creation. In the context of social media technologies, this refers to the process of a group of people, can be many people, can be just a few people, that they co-create a piece of work, whether it's an assignment in the school context or a project in a company. So social media such as a wiki. Now, when I say wiki, I'm talking about the tool, the technology behind Wikipedia. So many people use wiki to co-create group project work for professors' assignment. Who has done it? Okay, very good, thanks. Okay, sharing. The user-friendly nature of social media tools enable quick sharing of UGC, user-generated content, to audience at a very low cost. The creation of UGC and, in turn, the sharing of such contents are encouraged by the simpler, faster, and cheaper production and transmission technology, such as YouTube or Facebook, now made available to authors. Okay, the last idea, community. In social media, the communities formed are virtual, and they alter the traditional understanding of what a community is. Interaction among members of a community still occurs regularly, but it is done on the web without having any physical togetherness. I also have done a review on the impact of social media on the formal and informal learning. Let's say earlier I mentioned about wiki. Quite a number of years ago, for my knowledge management course for the BSc IM students, I gave them a group project work that the whole class, we had 40 students. I divided them up into 8 groups, and they each group work on a case study on an organization regarding how they make use of KM, and then they make a critique in their book chapter. And then all 8 chapters together, so we put together an e-book, a wiki book, that if you go to Google, you can still find it. If you type knowledge knowledge management cases in Asia, then you can find it. And interestingly, some students, even 6 months after they have turned in the assignment, they told me that they still edit the assignment, the wiki book, because they don't look at it just as an assignment, they look at it as a real product that could be viewed by everyone around the world. And I myself actually from time to time, I do refer back to what they've done because those are real cases in various companies. So I use them for my class or other things. And now, when students did it on the wiki, it facilitates their collaboration. The second point here talk about collaboration because they can use it anytime and anywhere. And also that they told me that they don't need to meet as often as compared to the past because now they have the platform set up. They can go there, put in content, they can edit, and they can leave comment or notes or questions at the bottom of the page. Okay, now, let's assume that social media such as wiki does in fact helpful to most students. Now then the question becomes, then how do we set up this social media environment, whether we're talking about wiki or other technology, so that students can make use of it. Now, so there are 3 ideas. One is teacher-led. That means teacher will decide what to use, whether it's Facebook, wiki, blog, Google Doc, or what. And then they will set up the platform. And then students just go there and then use it. Now, so that's teacher-led. Student-led means that, okay, the professor simply tells students that, okay, now for this group assignment, you guys are going to use, student-led is, okay, you guys are going to use a social media. I don't care what you use, as long as you use it so that you can learn about the power of using social media to facilitate group project work. So one group may use Facebook, another group may use wiki, and so on. Now the last approach is a mixed. We call that the participatory approach. As you may guess, that means it's not entirely teacher-led, also not entirely student-led, but a mix of the two. So it starts with professors still need to have some guidelines that, okay, now you guys are going to use social media to create the platform to facilitate your group project work. Now in my case, I let students decide whether they use a wiki, Google Doc, Facebook, or blog, or whatever. But then I will give them some intervention, give them some help. Like I gave them a workshop on how various social media may help, and then how to use some more difficult social media. Let's say wiki. Wiki is of course more complicated than blog. And also that during the course of their group project work, in a period of about 2 to 3 months, I would meet with them twice to see the kind of design that they come up with, and I give them some comment how they can improve their design for facilitating their collaboration. And also, I also will comment on the content of their work too. Now, so that is but then the student will now you see the student decide what they use. They come up with the design, but then I give them some instruction how to do it better maybe. So I call that student and teacher-led. And some people suggest that there are 5 requirements in order that a participatory approach can happen. Things like students would have access to relevant information they need to do the job. So I gave them some articles to read. I gave them a workshop. And then the second point, possibility of assuming independence in addressing problems. So that means the social media site was set up by the student, and when they have problem, then they take the lead to fix up the problems, make it the best it could for them. And then third, contribute to decision making. So I don't decide for them, they decide. I just give them some comments here and there, give them some help here and there. Okay, research methods. Despite the educational benefits of social media, not too many practitioners, that means professors, lecturers, or teachers in schools, are using this social media for formal learning. McHenry in 2011 pointed out that the millennial students have been empowered by social media that have significant influence on their lifestyle to become highly personalized. Now, despite such drastic change in students' lifestyle and hence learning expectations, McHenry found that only 20% of the teachers in the US use social media tools in their lessons. I cannot remember whether he talked about just a university or school. I think he focused on school. University. Now that was several years back then, but to my personal estimation, observation, I think the situation hasn't changed much. Maybe now 30% at the most, but still it's not the majority of the university lecturers are making use of social media to facilitate their students' group project work, whether we are talking about teacher-led, student-led, or taking the participatory design approach. And that's why I conduct the study, since still not too many people are doing it. Now I have these three research questions. First of all, what are students currently doing with social media in their everyday life, informal learning and the formal learning? And then question two, to what extent are the 5 claims of social media apparent in the use of social media in the 3 domains? And lastly, how can lecturers and students make use of the participatory design to co-create social media environment for formal learning? Now my entire research is actually a mixed method that collect both quantitative and qualitative data and then analyze them with both methods. But for today's presentation, I only will focus on the quantitative analysis. That's the phase 1 of my research. So phase 2 will be the qualitative, to try to understand why behind many observations. And I use the convenient sampling method that earlier I mentioned that I have 2 groups of my own students because I will give them some intervention. So it's very hard not to use convenient sample. At first I try to use maybe other colleagues' students, but then it's too hard. And since I want to have some intervention, it's very hard to intervene in other people's classes. And so BSc-IM here I have 30 students, and then the master student I have about 70. And I only study those who are willing to be studied, so about 85% of them in the 2 groups, roughly. And I mentioned that the group project lasts for about 2 to 3 months. And students build an online platform via social media. And I gave them comment twice during the course of the project. And I also do an individual phone interview at the end, except for the last cohort in the 2 programs that I will be doing it in about 1 or 2 months. Now for my data, for my quantitative data, I have a survey, and it's a 5-point Likert scale. And so, when the mean score is above 3, that means the student's view is edging toward positive. Well, 1 is negative, 5 is the most positive. And then, and I use the KS test to check the data normality. I did a normality check. And then, because the normality check shows that the distribution doesn't seem to be very normal. And so I use a non-parametric test, the Whitney test, to analyze the data. And for today, I also have quantified some data, some numbers from the individual interviews that I have done in the past 1 to 2 years. Okay, results. Now for RQ1, I break it down into 3 sub-questions. So the first question will be, what are students currently doing with SM, social media, in everyday life? And then second, what are students currently doing with SM in informal learning? And lastly, in the formal learning. Figures in italic are also those that I highlight in yellow. Now those refer to the situation that at least 1/3 of the students have used the SM tool for 3 times or more per week on average for everyday life. And the table is showing that at least 1/3 of the students in both programs have used 8 kinds of social media tools for 3 times or more per week on average for everyday life. And the ones common for both groups were blog, the first highlighted one in yellow, and then Facebook, and then forum and Google Doc, and WhatsApp. Skype was highlighted incorrectly. Yeah, I shouldn't have highlighted. Well, sorry, Skype is still okay for BSCI, but not for MSc LIM. Now, and ones that was unique for BSCI students, at least 1/3 of them have used it for 3 times or more. And while the unique ones for the master students were, can you point it out for me? Just to make sure that you're not sleeping. So for MSc LIM, what are the ones that are unique to them? The one unique to them is which one? QQ, yeah, QQ, and also, well, just QQ then, according to the highlight. But there should also be Weibo. Oh yeah, sorry, Weibo. I haven't highlighted the one in italic. Yeah, so also Weibo. That's unique for MSc LIM. And I also want to point out that among the 19 SM tools here, 5 of them, so 26% of them, had a statistical significant difference between the 2 groups. And BSCI students have used PhotoBucket and YouTube significantly more often than the master student, while the master students have used Google Doc, WeChat, Weixin, and Weibo significantly more. Now, table 2 here shows that at least 1/3 of the students in both groups have used 6 kinds of SM tools for 3 times or more per week on average for informal learning. The ones common to both were Facebook, Forum, Google Doc, WhatsApp, Wiki, and YouTube. Among the 19 SM tools here, 2 of them, 11%, had a statistically significant difference between the two groups. So I'm referring to the two that I put an asterisk next to it. And BSc students have used Google Doc and WhatsApp significantly more often than the master student. Table 3 here shows that at least 1/3 of the students in both groups have used 4 kinds of SM tools for 3 times or more per week on average for formal learning. The ones common for both groups were Forum, Google Doc, Wiki, and YouTube. And ones that were unique for BSc students were Facebook and WhatsApp. And among the tools here, 11% of them had a significant difference between the two groups. So it's the Facebook and the Forum. BSc students use Facebook significantly more often than the master student, while the master students use Forum significantly more than the BSc. Actually, can you guess why? Now, what I just said was the BSc student use Facebook significantly more than MSc, and then MSc students use the Forum significantly more often. Now, earlier, one thing that I haven't mentioned, in fact, there's a note here, okay. Now, at the bottom, the green part, there's a note here that talks about the $ here, not accessible in mainland China. So if you look up, so Facebook, Google Doc, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Wiki, these are not accessible in mainland China. Okay. All right, now, then going back to what I pointed out earlier regarding Facebook, that there's a significant difference between the two. Now, this is the mean, as you can see, it's quite a big difference. Now, I also need to give you a bit more detail regarding the background of our students. Now, basically, almost 100% of our BSc students are from Hong Kong. They are local Hong Kong students. Now, while for the master student, now it depends on which cohort are we talking about. I have 3 cohorts. But the overall, at least, well, about half of them are from mainland China. Yeah, so now I guess you probably can guess why there is a significant difference between the two. So, for today's presentation, one thing that I don't have time to go into is this difference between let's say, the Hong Kong student and then the mainland Chinese. That will be in some other of my analysis. Let's see. Am I on, should I be on table 4 or 5 now? Let me check. Okay. Now, Table 4. Here shows that at least 1/3 of the students in both groups have used SM tools to perform different activities for 5 times per week or more on average, for 4 to 5 claims in everyday life. If you look at the, so here, so 5 here and then 4 there. And the claims that were common for both groups include generate new content, produce and consume information on SM, share content with others, and socialize with people. The unique claim for BSc students was to work with others to co-construct content on SM. If we talk about the ones that have at least 1/3 of them performed for 5 times or more per week on average. Now for the middle one, the informal learning, at least 1/3 of the students in both groups have used SM tools to perform different activities for 5 times per week or more on average for 1 to 3 claims. 1 claim for MSc and then 3 claims for BSc. For formal learning, the unique claim for BSc students was the last one, socialize with people shared the same interests. Table 5 shows that at least 1/3 of the students in both groups have used SM tools to perform different activities for 5 hours per week or more, on average for 3 to 5 claims in everyday life. 3 to 5 claims in everyday life. So 3 here and 5 here, everyday life. The claims that were common for both groups include generated content, produce and consume information, and socialize with people. For informal learning, the unique claims for BSc-IM students include all 5 claims on social media. And for formal learning, is the first 4 claims that are unique for the BSc. Now, table 6 here shows that there's no significant difference between the 2 groups in terms of their agreement on their perceived usefulness of the different SM activities on the 3 domains. All the mean scores are above the midpoint of 3, which suggests that students on average agree that the different activities described in the 5 claims are useful in their everyday life, in formal learning, and also formal learning. Table 7. This is the last table I'll be discussing. Here shows the descriptive data of students' view on their experience in utilizing the participatory design method to co-create social media environment conducive for formal learning, and whether they have been using SM more now for formal learning than at the start of the course. And this data is extracted and quantified from the 27 individual student interviews that I managed to do in the past 1 to 2 years. And in general, students think that their experience with the participatory design method in the course, so item 1 to 4. Now, earlier when I talked about participatory design, there are 5 elements that need to be, in general, they need to be there so that design can be claimed as a participatory design. But how come here I only show you 4? Well, because after doing it the first round, I noticed that the kind of designs that we are talking about is rather simple, whether we are talking about the use of Wiki or blog or Google Doc. And so one of the 5 criteria doesn't seem to be that relevant since the design is so simple, so I decided to drop that. And so here, only include 4 things. For example, whether students have sufficient access to relevant information about applying SM in formal learning. And second, whether students felt that they have independence in solving problems related to SM platform that they use, design. And whether they contribute to the decision-making process regarding which SM tools to use for the project, and whether they have the opportunity to decide to change the group's SM platform when needed. And if you look at the mean, the average is 3, so they are all positive that all of those 4 things did happen. So that means that they did experience the participatory design in the course. I gave them some help, and then they build it, they modify it as needed, and also give them some help when needed. And also I'd like to point out that in here, number 5, talks about if I were the lecturer, I would implement this participatory design method in order to help my students design the SM platform for their group project. Now, they're also rather positive. This is 3.96, the midpoint is 3. Now this is quite helpful to me as a lecturer in the university. Now why? Because earlier I mentioned that I've been using social media tools in my courses when I have a group project work for my students. Now in earlier years, so I guess 7 or 8 years ago, in earlier years, then I would take the teacher-led approach that I designed the platform for the students. And then in later years, I also tried the second approach, the student approach. You guys decide whatever you want to use. Now, and in current years, these 2 years, then I tried the third approach, the student and teacher-led approach, the participatory design approach. Now it seems that according to the student that I studied, it seems that they like this approach the best. That they have the freedom to decide which one to use. They do it, but you give them support. According to this student, they want, this is the method when they are asked to use social media to engage in their group project work. Now, and then the last point here is also very interesting. I have been using more SM now for formal learning than at the start of the course. Being able to try 1 or more SM for the group project work in a period of 2 to 3 months, and also for the intervention that I gave them, and they now learn more about how social media can be applied for formal learning, not just for the everyday life. So in a period of 2 to 3 months, with this gain in knowledge of how social media can be used for formal learning, and now they are already using it more for formal learning. So this method seems to work very well. Discussion. Students have used social media more often in daily life. 1/3 of students have used 8 kinds of SM tools in everyday life for 3 times or more per week on average, compared to 6 times for informal learning and 4 times for formal learning. And most students do not utilize SM tools for formal learning at the beginning of the course. And by the end of the course, and I just said earlier, that the students from the interview generally agree that they've been using more SM for formal learning than at the beginning of the course. And further investigation is needed in order to find out factors that facilitate or hinder students' learning with SM tools. Regarding the 5 claims of social media, number of times and length of time involved in the 5 claims of SM are more apparent in everyday life, followed by informal learning and then formal learning. And students generally agree that the 5 claims of social media are useful for all 3 domains, with a relatively stronger agreement for everyday life, followed by informal learning and then formal learning. And students tend to perform social media activities relatively more often on the domain that they find most useful. And students agree that the SM is useful for both academic and non-academic purposes. And the experience in co-creating SM environment with lecture for formal learning has been found positive. Measures may be taken or should be taken to help students to fully utilize the SM tools that they are already using for everyday life, but not yet for formal learning. To conclude, using social media in everyday life, especially for university students, is a common practice. Advantages of SM tools do not seem to be fully utilized for academic purposes. Frequency of usage does not seem to match with the assumption of the usefulness of SM tools. And basically my study is similar to the literature review that I pointed out earlier, that not too many practitioners, lecturers, using SM tools for formal learning. But then students, once they experience it for the ones that I study, they do find that is useful. And so this is something that practitioners in higher education should really think about, how they can engage students in using social media for formal learning. I think I can spare this. Any questions, comments? 有没有问题?
Well, am I correct that the table, well, maybe I should just ask, for the data in table 4, 5, and 6, is it coming from the data from table 1, 2, and 3? I mean, is it obtained by collapsing the results of individual items in table 1, 2, and 3?
Okay, let me see. Let's review on those tables.
Right.
Okay, now, so this is table 1. What are students currently doing with SM in everyday life? And then the second one, same thing, but informal learning. Mm-hmm. And then the third, these are the 3 sub-questions for question 1. Okay, now, so this is what are students currently doing with SM for formal learning. Okay, so all these 3 tables are related to my research question 1. Okay, now, and then your question is whether the table 4,
well,
5...
maybe I can ask in this way. Let's go to table 2, the one for question 1, 1, 2.
Okay.
Right, yes, right. For example, in here, I just wonder, because in here you are trying to use the language test to examine whether the Bachelor of Science group and the Master of Science group have difference, right? Am I correct? The significant language tests are basically compared as 2 groups. So I can see that there is a significant result in, for example, the WhatsApp group 0.02. Yes, here. However, if you combine the WhatsApp group together with the WeChat group, basically they are sharing the same purpose, but just people just use different stuff. I mean, different platforms. Some use WhatsApp and some use WeChat. They are basically the same. However, if you combine the two, then you see that there is no significant difference at all. You can see quite easily, right? So the mean. So I just wonder, and then you start to talk about the tables 4, 5, and 6. So I just wonder whether you, table 4, 5, and 6 are not very clear whether you have already done so. So that is my question actually. So I asked this question whether you have already, because in table 4, 5, and 6 I do not see many significant results. So I'm not sure as to whether you have already collapsed some of the, I mean, in here, some of the items, and those items are the tools, they are serving the same purpose, and then conduct an analysis. So that is my question, actually.
Thank you, Dr. Poon, for taking such a keen interest, close look at my data. Now, so let's see. So 4, 5, and 6. Now, so 4 is about the 5 claims of social media, and these are new data.
I see. So you have other questions.
Other questions.
Okay. Then my question would go back to my view is that perhaps if we really collapse those groups, I mean the earlier question, my comment on table RQ 1.2 is that if we collapse those groups, then it is worth to conduct such an analysis to see whether it is really significant between the two groups. So that is my comment. I just want to.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
And also, I would like to ask, what is the major conclusion with respect to your comparison? Because maybe because I'm a statistician, when you talk about significance and compare the two groups, and then what is the result? I mean, the result or the conclusion with respect to all the comparison.
The conclusion with all the comparison. Now, I have compared different things.
Right.
Yeah. Now I think the most interesting part is regarding the participatory design. That I mentioned at the end that students find the participatory design to be conducive for their group project work. I mean, in terms of having a social media environment to facilitate the group project work. That's the one thing that I really want to find out, because, as I mentioned, over the years I tried various approaches, and then which approach should I use. And then this study seems to indicate that students do like this participatory design.
I see. So both bachelor student as well as Master of Science student, they both like the design. Because we are trying to find the difference between the two groups. What's the difference between the two groups? So the major finding is that there's no difference.
Now, in terms of the difference between the two groups, although earlier I tried to point out, for example, in here, then the one difference shown would be the last item in the table, that there is a significant difference. Now, but as I also mentioned during my presentation, that there are many angles we can look at the data. And here I just present the comparison between BSc and Master. But earlier I also mentioned that in fact I also need to look at it at the background of the student, whether it's Hong Kong or mainland, because as I explained that some social media are not available in mainland, then of course they will make lots of difference to the data, to the average. And so in some sense, although I show some differences between the two groups, but I have to say that I haven't given you the complete picture yet. The complete picture would have to involve much more analysis from different angles. and also have data regarding male and female, part-time or full-time. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chu. Evidence-based research and give us a different aspect of how our students learn. And I think social media is very important, very powerful because there's cost-free and very convenient for my students and for my teaching. For my teaching, I also use social media a lot. So I think we have many questions. Our participants have many questions, but we would like to leave those questions in our this afternoon. Okay, so let's thank Dr. Chu. Thank you for your